Good day. Today we'll be studying about the basics of, well, of course, it's actually more of reviewing the basics of statistics. We'll be reviewing basic concepts such as variables, uh, different kinds of, the basic kinds of statements of the problem, scales of measurement, and these concepts are very important in our conception of research and determining statistical tools that are appropriate for each specific problem. Okay, I got here sample problems which you would often see in thesis and journal articles, research journal articles. Okay, I got here a sample research wherein the title is Motivation, Satisfaction, Demographics, and Research Engagement of College Professors. Okay, there are three statements of the problem. So the first one is, you will see it from my slide over here. So you have, how may the respondents be described in terms of the following: motivation to do research, teaching job satisfaction, demographics such as age, gender, college, educational attainment, family income, and civil status. And letter D is research engagement. Number two question is, are motivation, satisfaction, and demographics significantly related to research engagement? And the null hypothesis is motivation, satisfaction, and demographics are significantly related to research engagement. Then the third question is there a significant difference in research engagement between the male and female professors? Okay, the null hypothesis is posed as there is no significant difference in research engagement between the male and female professors. Now, if we will go back to these previous slides, like this one in the first slide, what do you notice from the problem here, from this specific problem? What does the researcher want to know with this statement of the problem, using this statement of the problem? Basically, if you would go back to your statistics, what do you think are the statistical tools that you would use in order to answer this problem? Okay, do you have any cue? Do you have any knowledge? Okay, number two, how about this one? This number two question, I mean, what do you think is this kind of problem? Do you think this is a descriptive problem or an inferential problem? Now, what do you think is the statistical tool appropriate for this kind of problem? And how about this one? You've got here, is there a significant difference in research engagement between the male and female professors? Again, do you think is this problem a descriptive or an inferential problem? Okay, now, as you would see from this problem, from this first problem, you would see that this first problem is a descriptive problem, meaning to say it mainly or it simply wants to know the current or present level of the respondents in terms of those variables enlisted in the enumerated in this problem. Okay, so what do you think, or what do you think are the statistical tools that would be most appropriate in order to answer this problem? Of course, because this is a descriptive problem, then it calls for descriptive statistics. Again, this is a descriptive problem, so therefore it calls for descriptive statistics. Okay, so motivation to do research. So if you want to describe your respondents in terms of their motivation to do research, their level to do research, okay, their motivation level to do research. So most probably you would be using the descriptive statistics such as the mean and the standard deviation. Okay. This one, in contrast to the first question, we have this second question. If you would look at the question, are motivation, satisfaction, and demographics significantly related to research engagement? You would notice that the uh, you would notice that the question does not simply want to know the description or the level of the participants in terms of those variables mentioned, but they also want to know if those variables are related. Okay, so that question would have to be answered by yes or no. Okay, so this leads us to the assumption that this question may be an inferential question, okay? Because if you would look at the term significantly related, so it must be a correlation question, meaning to say it asks for some kind of correlation between the or among the variables in question. Okay, so significant relationship. So therefore, if you would try to review your previous knowledge in statistics, then this question would warrant correlation statistics, not descriptive statistics. Then we also have another question. By the way, it should not be number 2, it should be number 3. We have another question. Is there a significant difference in research engagement between the male and female professors? So this time, this question is not asking for a relationship, but it is asking for a significant difference. But still, similar with the previous question, which is on relationship, this question is also an inferential question because this could be answered by either a yes or no answer. And an inferential, that is why it is called inferential statistics, because you want to know whether the answer to this question, that answer to this question can be generalized from the specific sample to the general population. Okay, and if the significant difference between the male and female professors in the specific sample can be generalized to the total, to the whole population. Thus, you can make some kind of conclusion regarding the variables under study. But what is its difference with the prior slide, with the correlation problem, is that this one is asking for significant difference, not significant relationship. Okay, so when you say significant difference, we will not be thinking of correlation or relationship. Rather, we will be thinking of tests of difference like t-test, maybe somehow, and analysis of variance. Okay, so most probably we'll be thinking of t-test here in this kind of problem. So what am I trying to point out here is that the way you craft your question, because when you conduct research, you start with, okay, way back in high school, you already know that in conducting research, in doing research, you start with stating the problem. Now, the way you craft your problem, the way your statement of the problem are crafted or structured, it should be accordingly or appropriately in such a way that from the statement of the problem alone, the researcher would or the reader would already know what would be the corresponding process that would be performed in order to answer that problem. So if he is a statistician or somebody who knows about quantitative research, he would already have a clue as to what could be the possible statistical analysis appropriate to answer that specific problem. And therefore, from the statement of the problem, that is why we know that the statement of the problem serves as the main anchor or the guide that, that gives the direction to the whole research. Okay, it is somehow the foundation. Okay, so that is why it is very important that the way you craft your statement of the problem should be correct, should be right, and it should be clear and well specified. The variables are well specified, and it gives us a clue as to what process, okay, to perform, to conduct in order to answer those problems. Okay, it should be simple and very clear. All the variables and the things that you want to know about those variables are clearly explained or stated in your statement of the problem. Okay, so because that will guide the whole course of your research, the statement of the problem. Okay, so based on these three statements of the problem, we will see that just as the number of problems that we have here, we have a descriptive research, descriptive problem, and then we have an inferential problem. Then we have a problem that asks for relationship, and then we have a problem that asks for difference. Okay, this is also analogous to our goals of psychology. You are a psychology major, right? If you would remember from your subject in general psychology, I guess you readily well know that there are 4 major goals of psychology, and these are: first, to describe behavior, to predict behavior, to explain behavior, and then to manage behavior. And because psychology claims to be a scientific endeavor, it claims to be a scientific field, okay, we want to be as much as possible precise in our measurement. Thus, we try to make use of statistics in measuring and describing the variables that you want to study. So when we say when one of the goals of psychology is to describe behavior, that means to say we are using statistics in order to describe behavior. So thus we use descriptive statistics. Then we also have predicting behavior. In order for us to predict behavior, scientifically, mathematically, we use correlation statistics. Then we also want to explain behavior as to its cause and effect. What causes this? What is the result of this? What is the outcome? What are the corresponding causal factors that results into a certain outcome? Through the use of experimental research, experimental designs, then we make use of inferential statistics in order to process the data that we have yielded from an experimental research. So basically, these 3 kinds of statistics, descriptive, correlation, inferential statistics, such as the t-test, the analysis of variance, all of these are used in our goal to make psychology a scientific endeavor. a scientific study. And the outcome of all this, earlier goals of psychology, such as describing, predicting, and explaining, then we can now try to manage behavior. So the ultimate goal is to manage behavior. Okay, managing behavior. Actually, no one can change. Not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. No one can ever change someone else. Behavior. Just what a psychologist at the most, or at his best, a psychiatrist at his best, may be able to manage someone else's behavior. It is only the person who could change if he has the will to it. If he has the will, well, he may be able to change his behavior. Even so, that person may not even be able to change his behavior somehow, as God says it, that we all have this kind of nature that we want to go back to something that is not healthy for us. Yun. Kaya it is only by the grace of God that man can change his behavior. With the help of God and with his will, he may be able to change his behavior. Okay. But for psychologists and psychiatrists to change his behavior, well, it is, shitting the moon. But they may be able to manage behavior. And psychology tries to do it with the use of statistics. That is why we are here in this subject, advanced psychological statistics. Okay, so I'm just trying to go back to these concepts for us to be reviewed, so that we'll not be groping in the dark as we go up the ladder of statistics. Okay, what is statistics then? Okay, if you would remember from your previous elementary statistics, that statistics is the science of collecting, organizing, summarizing, describing, and making inference from data. Again, okay, statistics is divided in two major parts, the descriptive one and the inferential one. Okay, so in the process of collecting, because this corresponds with the process of conducting research. You collect the data, you organize the data, you summarize the data, you try to describe the data. That would be part of descriptive statistics. Okay, when you when you distribute questionnaires, that is collecting data. And then when you try to organize your data in such a way that it is interpretable, in such a way that it can be readily processed, then that is part of descriptive statistics. You try to summarize it by using descriptive statistics such as the mean, the standard deviation. That is part of descriptive statistics. And when you use the charts, the graphs, in order to show the patterns of your data, that is descriptive statistics. Now, inferential statistics, however, okay, is another part of statistics that includes making inferences. That is, we are testing hypotheses and determining relationships with the use of inferential statistics. So it is a step higher than descriptive statistics, the inferential statistics, because with inferential statistics, we pose a certain hypothesis, an educated guess, and then we try to test whether it is true to the population. Okay, if it is true in our sample, then we try to see if it is true also in the population. Okay, so we are determining relationships. So that is why we can make inferences of the relationships of the variables that we are studying, of the concepts, psychological concepts that we are studying through the use of inferential statistics. So that is statistics. And of course, statistics is highly reliant on data. Okay. Now, let me give a clear distinction, some kind of a distinction between information and data. When you say information, it is not equal to data. Okay. Data are simply figures or numbers. But when you say information, it means you have data there with analysis. Okay, with attached analysis to it. Ibig sabihin, you have given certain value or meaning to the data that you have given there. Then you have information. However, any data that you have gathered with the use of invalid tool, it is not in any way information. Okay, what do you mean by invalid? Of course, there are certain qualities that you have to that you have to ensure in your tool. Okay. So, for example, when you use, if you want to determine your height, what tool would you use in order to measure height? Would you use the weighing scale, the bathroom scale? Do you think the bathroom scale is the appropriate tool to use to measure height? No, it is not. Of course, the height can be measured by what? Tape measure, a yardstick. Yes, that's right. But never can you use a weighing scale to measure height. That is not a valid tool. A valid tool may be a yardstick or a tape measure. Okay, so that is a valid tool. So there are two qualities that should be ensured in your tool, okay, in your data gathering. One is reliability and validity. When you say valid, that means the tool that you are using to measure the variable that you are measuring is appropriate, meaning to say you're using the right tool, the appropriate tool to measure your variable. Then when you say reliable, meaning to say there is consistent result. No matter how many times you have given the same test to a certain sample of people, you gather the same scores from them using the same test, basically because your test is reliable. It gathers consistent result. It is not variable. This means to say that when a measure is reliable, that means that there is a minimal degree of measurement error. And how can you measure that? By some kind of reliability coefficient. Okay, so reliability and what? Validity. So these are two properties of a psychometric tool that you have to ensure so that your data would be truly indeed be an information. Data and analysis would truly be an information. Because data, sabi nga, data gathered through invalid tool is not information. Again, what are the two psychometric properties that we would have to ensure in our measuring tool? First, it should be valid and it should be reliable. When you say valid, it is an appropriate tool to measure that particular variable that you want to measure, and reliable meaning to say you are gathering consistent result using that the same measure. Okay. Now, another thing that we would have to, review is the concept on variable. Any research, psychological research, or even in educational research, social research, especially if it is quantitative research, the researcher should be able to determine what are the variables that he wants to study. Why am I stressing this? Because many times that students are confused about variables. They are already in their thesis writing stage and they are already at the point wherein they are defending their paper. And if you ask them, so what is the variable of your study? And they go, oh, what is that? It seems that their mind have been invariably been floating in the clouds, and they don't know what the variable of their thesis is. So, what is a variable? A variable is something, it is any concept. So if we are talking about psychological research, a variable is any concept that may change in time, in quality, in amount, in property. It is a variable. That is why it is taken from the root word vary. Vary means change. Okay, a variable. Okay. Thing. While the dependent variable, it is the outcome or the result of something. Okay, so it is the x. If you have correlation, the independent variable is the x and the dependent variable is the y. So you just think cause and effect. The independent variable is the cause and the dependent variable is the effect or the result. Okay, sometimes we call that also predictor variable. Predictor variable is same thing as the independent variable, and the dependent variable is criterion variable if you are doing correlation research. Okay. Another, aside from identifying your independent dependent variable, it is also very important that you know what type of data do you have, whether you have a qualitative data or a quantitative data. Anything which is not a number is called qualitative data, or it is categorical like sex, personality type, rank. Okay. And we also have quantitative data, something that you measure in terms of height, IQ score, grade. Quantitative data is something that you can add up. The rule of thumb is anything that can be added up, it is quantitative data. Okay, something you measure like age, height, IQ score, grade with numeric values. Okay, then variable can also have, there are 4 different kinds of measurement. We have nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scale. Okay, nominal, this is equivalent to categorical data. Okay, then we have ordinal, meaning to say the variable is ordered. Okay, so say for example, birth order, we have the firstborn, the secondborn, the thirdborn, that is ordinal. Then we have interval and ratio. Interval and ratio both have quantitative values. The difference between interval and ratio is that ratio has an absolute 0 point. The interval has not. So when you say absolute 0 point, as in when you say zero, there is nothing. So say for example, I have zero amount of money in my wallet today. So when you open up the wallet, there is no money that you can see inside it. That is absolute zero. So when you say there is zero number of people in the classroom, so wala ka talagang makitang tao doon sa loob. That is ratio scale. Now, interval, there is no absolute zero, meaning to say a zero doesn't mean an absence of something. Like, for example, temperature. Temperature could go zero. It can reach the level of zero and it can even go lower than zero. So pag sinabing zero sa interval, sa temperature, it means na there is still temperature, but its degree is at zero. Hindi yung ibig sabihin na pag 0 degree temperature, walang temperature. No, meron pa rin. Okay? Only that it's very cold. It's freezing cold. Yun. Then, we also have discrete and continuous variable. Pag sinabing discrete scale, these are whole number amounts. Okay, say for example, number of people in a room. So you say there are 2 people, there are 3 people, there are 5 people. You cannot, cut a person into halves and then you say there are 4.5 people in a room. No, it cannot. Discrete whole number siya. And we also have, under the discrete scale, we have dichotomous, meaning to say 2 categories only. Say, for example, male, female, true, false. These are these are dichotomous scale. Then we also have continuous scale. It allows for fractional amounts. So there are decimal numbers. Say, for example, your salary, you may be earning 1,250 cents. The cents there is in decimal value, so it is continuous. Okay, so again, variables could be measured along 4 scales: the nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Okay, variable can also be discrete and continuous. Pag sinabing discrete, whole number, continuous, it could be fractional. Okay, variable can also be independent, dependent. Okay, so that's it for today. And I have given you a quiz, a short quiz in the assessment book. Okay, so after watching this video, I would like you to take that quiz, the enabling quiz in the assessment book. Okay, so that's all for today. So for today, we have learned about statistics, the goals of statistics, of psychology that corresponds to its statistics, validity and reliability, which are the psychometric properties of our measuring tool, the scales of measurement. Okay, so that's it for today. Good day, guys. See you next class. Okay.